You have so many options. You can get up tomorrow and you can say, you know what, I'm gonna move. I'm just gonna pack my stuff up and leave. I don't have to go to work. Who said you have to go?
Yep.
You can go do anything. You can set you up an e-commerce business on your smartphone and be doing business from the beach. You know, it just depends on how much ambition you have, and you can't teach ambition. You either have it or you don't.
Now, before I get into it, I wanted to just quickly explain a little bit, because when I announced this on Instagram a week or two ago, people seemed really surprised by it. Like, whoa, this is awesome, but I would have never guessed that you two guys would be working together. Most unexpected collab ever, stuff like that. This makes perfect sense if you know me in real life, but I forget that you guys don't actually know me. So, as I've talked about in a couple of videos, the reason why this makes so much sense is A, because my dad was a corrections officer for 25 years. My stepmom was also a corrections officer at a separate facility across the street. My aunt worked in corrections at a juvenile facility. My cousin is something close to like a parole officer. I've had a whole bunch of uncles and friends on the other side of the bars doing time. A lot of my jiu-jitsu training partners are sheriffs or police officers, corrections officers. Shout out to Clutch and anybody else who might be watching. So basically, yeah, this stuff is a big part of my world. This conversation is not about music, but I very, very, very highly suggest that you watch it, because as much as I love hardcore and punk and metal, and as much positivity as I've gotten from it, there's also a lot of negativity there. There's a lot of like self-destructive or self-limiting thinking that has got to be stomped out, and that is what we're trying to do in this interview. What's up, everybody? I'm Finn McKenty. This is the Punk Rock MBA, and I'm here with Big Herc from Fresh Out.
What's up?
One of my favorite YouTube channels. I've been watching for probably like 4 or 5 years now. Congratulations on hitting 400,000 subscribers.
Hey man, appreciate it.
Very impressive. So I guess I will describe your channel as I see it. You can tell me if I got it right. So to me, the channel is about, although you call it like, oh well, people call it a prison channel, to me it's not really about prison, it's about self-improvement.
Mm-hmm.
You talk to people who have done, 10, 20, sometimes even 30 years, and then got out and have done cool things with their lives. So to me, that's the part of it that resonates with me. So that's kind of my impression of the channel. What did I, did I get it right?
I mean, yeah, it's not really a prison channel per se. People telling stories maybe have had interaction with jail time, but we have a lot of people who are entrepreneurs. There's people who have overcome adversity, who have turned their life around, who are basically mentors or inspirational stories, and just kind of being more of a positive vibe, and not glamorizing prison. A lot of prison people that call themselves prison channels, they glamorize prison. The tattoos, the violence, the just hanging out stuff, and there's nothing to glamorize about prison.
It's not very interesting to me either. Like hearing fight stories and stuff is not.
No, it's not. Who cares?
It's not interesting.
No, there's nothing to be said for somebody who was in a riot and you came out and survived. I mean, I'd prefer never have seen any of that stuff.
Yeah. Well, how did you kind of arrive at the, what's interesting to me about it is, having said all of that, like, it is called Fresh Out. You kind of reject so much of that lifestyle mentality, yet also it's part of the channel. So how did you kind of arrive at the concept for the channel? And
sitting in prison, basically just brainstorming ideas. I had a journal. I'd write down all type of business ideas I had and what I was gonna do when I got out. And I knew I wanted to get back into something to do with movie or television as far as production. And I just sat there and I had an epiphany. I'm like, man, I've seen these guys watching Cops, and I'm like, man, I can't believe these guys are in prison and watching Cops. They're already locked up. And I'm like, man, I need to come out with a show.
You really like this that much?
Yeah, I'm like, dude, this is like insane. You guys are just fascinated. And I'm looking at the mentality of a lot of the people in there. I'm like, I need to come out with a show that shows what life is after for a lot of these people, and what how people have changed and what they've experienced, and to share that. So I came up with the show, and then when I got out, I hooked up with my business partner, and we kind of like developed the idea further.
And you've been doing it since what, 2014?
2013.
13, okay. Yeah. And you've talked to probably a couple hundred people now, right?
Quite a few people. I think we have over 600 videos, which are a combination of interviews, cooking shows, some entrepreneur stuff, and prison talks.
And what are some of the people, like looking back and all that, what are some of the stories that have really stood out and made an impact on you?
Well, I think more or less the impact is on the public. For myself, I try to screen the individuals we interview from day one for people who are doing something with their life now. I don't care that, you know, just because you did time doesn't mean you're going to be on our show, or we're going to have you on here glamorizing, you know, your gang banging or your you know, gang activity. We're more or less, if we're interviewing people, it's because they've made a dramatic change. Cali Muscle, you know, this guy, you know, he was our first interview, YouTube sensation. He's done a lot of positive with his life. The guy Larry we interviewed, he's got his own gym, you know, successful personal trainer, you know, doing big things with his life. You know, these are people who have made a big impact on the people who have watched their interviews. So we try to focus more on their personality rather than what they did in prison. It's what they're doing now.
Yeah, that's what I think is interesting about it. And just to back up to something you touched on a minute ago, what made you, from how you talked about it, you made a really conscious decision from day one to use your time as productively as you could and focus on self-improvement. What do you think it was that enabled you to focus like that versus other people who, you know, go astray and get wrapped up in even more dumb shit?
Well, I did a lot of reflection. See, most people that go to prison, they don't do any reflection. They're there and they're just hanging out. They're listening to music, they're playing games, they're gambling, they're caught up on TV, the politics. I didn't care about any of that. I didn't care about what anybody was doing, what so-and-so said, who was doing this on the yard, who was selling dope. I didn't focus on any of that. I focused on how the hell did I get there? What were the choices I made in my life that led to me sitting in this place with people doing 5 life sentences, with people who will kill you because you don't give them back their honey bun? You know, what would, you know, sitting in the wrong chair and get your throat slashed? How did I get here? So I did reflection exercises every day, and I, you know, I accepted responsibility, but also looked to change so I didn't repeat that. A lot of people don't do that. People, they don't want to accept responsibility, and they're just living in the moment.
And again, from what you said before, it sounds like you took advantage of basically every opportunity that you had there, as far as people that could teach you something, the law library. Can you talk a little bit about kind of how you found those and what you did with them?
Well, once you realize how you operate as a spirit, everything's on a vibrational pattern. So once I realized what my vibrational pattern was and the energy I sent out to the world, I realized that I had been operating on such a low frequency that I attracted a lot of negative energy. So once I got rid of that and I realized how to hone in my energy force, I was able to attract other people in prison who were on a similar vibrational pattern, which they were already on the time of writing books, being spiritual, studying in a law library, learning about the law, learning about business. These people, you attract each other. Same thing on the street. Success hangs around success. And so you can find successful people in prison who are on the same page, but you have to realize, you know, what your environment consists of and what you're sending out into the universe. I didn't understand any of that before I got locked up.
Yeah, it's very true that like attracts like. I think about, you know, 10 years ago when I was doing a lot more dumb shit than I am now, I was always found myself around people like that. And I was like, why am I always around people like that? Well, guess what? Because I was one of them, you know? And those people, I'm never around those people anymore. I didn't consciously make an effort to like avoid them. They just avoid me because it's like you said, it's like magnets. Just
That's right.
Attract or repel each other.
That's right. You people will gravitate towards likeness. And if you're some tough guy or you're looking for violence, violence will find you because it feels that you're seeking a reciprocal, so therefore you'll find what you're looking for.
And it sounds like hippie mumbo jumbo stuff, but it's just real. It's just how
real.
It works.
It's real, and a lot of people aren't conscious enough because they're so caught. They're not separated from the world to see that we're spiritual beings first. Everything else, material, comes secondary. And once you can realize that, you can decipher the two.
Well, let me, because one of the things I want to get out of this interview is I want people to watch this and go, as somebody who has their freedom, I'm assuming that everyone watching this, like, let's assume you're able-bodied and all that, you have all the opportunity in the world, and yet there are people watching this who aren't taking advantage, who are doing less with their lives than you were when you were in prison. So can you talk about, like, specifically some of the things that you sought out? I think you talked before about, you know, some guys who are locked up for white-collar crime that you sought out and stuff and learned from them.
Well, you have to find out where you want to be in life and where your comfort zone, what you feel success is. For success, for some people, might be making $60,000 a year. That might be your max. You might be cool, you know. You're being able to put a roof over your head. You got a good job. Maybe you got some benefits. That's your level, your vision of success. For the next man, it might be 1 billion. You know, it might be 10 billion. It might not be a cap on that. You know, he might want to own property on Mars. So you have to figure out what is your comfort zone, and then from there you seek out knowledge to help you attain that level of success. For myself, I don't have no cap. I'm not glass ceiling. I don't have, you know, I'm not gonna just say that I live for materialism, but I live to basically reach my highest level while I'm here on the earth. And my highest level has no limits. It's not capped out at, you know, a certain amount. So by doing that, I was able to gravitate towards people who taught me about LLCs, or people who taught me about real estate, people who taught me about writing books, you know, doing movie scripts, you know, people who were also seeking, you know, a certain level of success, and therefore we were like-minded. But, you know, there's nothing that the feds taught me. I taught myself. I educated myself. I rehabilitated myself. I focused on becoming the best me I could, rather than letting them, you know, go to one of these classes and have some wife of some ex-felon sit there and tell me about her old man, or somebody tell me, you know, when you get out, you better be lucky to get a job. Man, I wasn't trying to hear that shit, man. Yeah. So I didn't even entertain that. People who weren't trying to like have, you know, a certain level of growth within themselves, I didn't even talk to them. And, you know, a lot of people called me, you know, thought I was stuck up or whatever. But hey, man, you know, I'm not on your page. You're here and I'm here, but don't mean we're in the same mentality.
I'm not here to earn your approval.
No, and I'm not here to be your friend to hang up just because we're doing time together. And you know, everybody that I associated with that was on the same spiritual path, I'm still in touch with them to this day, and they're all successful and they're on the streets.
Well, speaking of that, one of the things I wanted to ask you about also is, you know, in my world, there are like a certain number of people, been around people who basically think it's cool to act like a thug. And the problem is that once they act like it for a little while, they oftentimes find themselves getting in a little bit over their head and are like, oh shit, I got myself into something that now I'm gonna have a hard time getting myself out of. They realize it's real when they're in the back of a cop car, and now it's not an act anymore. So for somebody like, you know, one of my friends or something like that thinks it's cool to, you know, to pretend like you're a thug, what would you say to that person?
What's so cool about it? You know, what do you think what's so cool about thinking that you're this tough guy and you want to, you know, pack a gun, or you want to, you know, run up in somewhere with a ski mask? I mean, what's so cool about it? You tell me. You know what I mean? Those are jackasses. You know, the people that when you really get to talking to some of the people and you see like this dude is really out of his mind. Most, you know, when you start talking to some people who that's all they lived for was getting up in the morning, robbing a bank, spending the money, doing it again, spending the money. They had no concept of what it meant to invest or to build something. It's just crime was their life. So for you guys pretending, once you get caught up in that, and then you get subject to the politics, you're gonna think twice. You're gonna be like, oh, I got myself into something like Snitch 9, you know, the rapper who would run around, you know, being a blood, and then he was disrespecting every neighborhood and ordering all type of shit. And then when it happened, oh my God, I don't like this. I'm gonna have to do time. I'm gonna tell on everybody. And so you're gonna be one of those guys who are gonna start telling, and you think there's no repercussions, but somebody's gonna find out you're a snitch, and then they're gonna cut your throat. So the best thing to do is be a square, find you somebody that loves you, get you a relationship with a woman, you know, create a family, get a job, you know, go to a trade school. And, you know, being tough, it's not all that. It's not, I didn't request that. I lived a life that I got involved in things, and just I gradually acclimated into that. But it wasn't like, you know, oh man, I'm gonna be this tough guy. Didn't nobody run around my neighborhood being tough. You either were or you weren't. Nobody even said you were tough. You didn't tell somebody you were alpha male. You just knew, oh, that dude right there, he'll bust your head. You knew. You just felt that dude. He's no joke. He got hands. You wasn't like, oh man, I got hands. I'm a gangster. Oh, I got it. Man, you know, dude was always packing. He didn't even say. You didn't even have to talk about it. A real gangster speaks nothing, says nothing, doesn't talk on about it. It's just, you know, and when it's done, it's already done. It's too late.
So if you're one of the people like my friends that finds himself on the wrong side of one of these people, that's when you're gonna realize
they're gonna get the wig split. You're gonna get your wig split. You get around some real gangsters. You come out here to Cali with that mess, and you get up in these penitentiary or one of these little systems, and you happen to get like involved in something that you shouldn't have. You're gonna see what real gangsterism is, because there's some dudes in there. They don't care. You're gonna do it's a dictatorship, like Wes said. You know what I mean? Wes Watson. You're gonna do what they tell you, and if there's any bucking in it, you're gonna get bucked.
It's a great interview, by the way. Wes Watson, you should definitely check that one out. He's got like 3 or something.
Yeah,
videos.
3 or 4 prison talks with us in the interview.
Excellent ones, really good. Let me see what else I have here. Wanted to kind of talk about another thing that it seems like you've made a conscious effort on your channel to kind of bring people together who you've got like Norteños and Sureños, you got black guys, you got white guys that on the inside would not really be able to associate, even on the streets sometimes wouldn't associate. Is that a conscious effort on your part, or is that just kind of naturally how you roll? Or?
Well, it's bridging the gap, man, with communications. You know, I mean, you're a white guy, so you can't talk to me in the pen. You can't sit over here and touch this because I touched it. I mean, how ignorant is that?
And for anybody who doesn't know, it's really that.
Yeah, in the state, it's really like that. You know, you can't work out with this dude because he's white, or you can't talk to this guy because he's from up north. You can't. I mean, how stupid is that? And they got you believing that while they're running the system. You're so caught up on all these little rules and regulations, but you come out here on the street, we can get money together. We can make a business together. I mean, what's dictating why you can't associate inside, but on the street, it's like it's all about growth and prosperity. Because once you're inside, there's rules. There's things you have to do. There's things even if you wanted to do, you couldn't do. So that's why I said prison is not for anybody unless you're a straight dummy and you like going and doing stupid stuff. And then there are some people who need to be there because if they were out here, they need to, they're just not able to function in society. But for the most part, I try to show that, man, we all have a lot in common. A lot of conversation can change a lot of things. You can open a lot of doors, and sharing your story and hearing from different people puts a different perspective, so we can all get a better understanding and hopefully save some lives.
I'm sure you have. Kind of covered a lot of this stuff. Another thing, kind of the overarching theme of the channel, I think, is that your future is always in your hands. And there's been times in my life, times in other people's lives I know, where they felt like it was too late, like they made some mistake, whether that's financial or legal, or they fucked up a relationship, whatever it is, and they're like, it's too late, fuck it, I'm just gonna let myself go down the drain. What would you say to that person that feels like it's too late for them to basically put their life on a happy path?
I say either step up or go lay down. If you want to be one of those people that say, oh, woe me, I'm too old, oh, I can't do this because I don't have the resources, oh, I was born with this because I can't have this, oh, my family don't have this, and you're sorry, man. You're pathetic. Go ahead and wallow in your sorrows. But I don't have time for that, man. I don't have time to entertain people like that. It's like you either want to have success, you want to have something that makes yourself proud to be who you are, so you can share with your kids and you can and basically grow your legacy, or you want to be a loser in life. One or two. Either you want to be successful, and I'm not saying you got to be successful and be like this billionaire, but I'm saying successful as far as being a good role model to your children, to your wife, taking care of your business, not robbing, stealing, and pilfering and doing things that aren't, becoming, So it's to me, when you sit around and complain, and you know what I do? I'll block this number, block this number, delete, block. I don't talk to them. You're not going to drain me.
I think of it like an infection.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just like, if I'm near you and you're negative, you're going to infect me with
They're
it.
spiritual vampires.
Yeah, I can't be near you.
Mental midgets. I'll leave them alone. I let them go ahead and socialize with the other mental midgets and let them drain each other, man. But you're not gonna pull from my energy source and worry me with your pity, because, dude, it's like, look at this, man. We're in Beverly Hills. Right. Life is, you have so many options. You can get up tomorrow and you can say, you know what? I'm gonna move. I'm just gonna pack my stuff up and leave. I don't have to go to work. Who said you have to go? Yep. You can go do anything. You can set you up an e-commerce business on your smartphone and be doing business from the beach. It just depends on how much ambition you have, and you can't teach ambition. You either have it or you don't. No, and a lot of people lock themselves up out here on the streets.
Exactly.
Relationships. How many people have you seen, these guys get in relationships because they don't want to, go for the legal, legitimate divorce proceedings? They kill their wife and kids. Yeah, I mean, dude, shoot the baby mama, don't want to have the kid. I mean, God, is that bad? You don't want to pay child support? You don't want to pay alimony? You're that scared that you're going to hurt her feelings that you don't want to leave and just go be happy, so you're going to murder everybody? I mean, people do so many stupid, oh, this guy, he bullied me, so you're going to go up here and shoot up a church. I mean, dude, why you want to throw your life away because somebody made you upset? It's like you have so many choices, so many options. There's so much. Why would you lock yourself up in the house? sit around all day with a video game console on your forehead, sitting playing video games. Get out and socialize, meet people, man, interact, realize there's life. You know, you don't have to be locked up on the street. When I was growing up, I never heard of depression and anxiety. No damn depression and anxiety. What are you depressed about? Get out there and go play basketball. Go run up there. Get out the house. You were not sitting in the house. Nowadays, oh, this guy, he's depressed. He's scared to leave the house. What? Come on, man. It's pathetic, man. People are so scared, living fear-based, and once you get caught up in fear, you stop living life. You know, fear is one of the enemies of life. And what do you have to fear, man? You have so many choices. You could travel the world. It's limitless when you get out here. I remember every day I used to sit in prison and fantasize, like, man, I'd look at the truck driving around the prison, and the guy be sitting in there, he's looking at you with a gun, and you're thinking all these fences, and you're like, man, where could I be at right now? Why do I have to be here? And you look around and you just look around all the barbarians. You're just looking around at people in prison. You're like, why am I here, man? Why can't I just somehow wish myself out of here? And you can't wish yourself out of there. You got to do the time. You got to maneuver. And, you know, when you get out, you just got to make the right choices.
Well, let's talk YouTube for a minute, because you have achieved something that I think it's like something, I looked it up, and something, there's only like 6,000 channels or something that have hit 400,000 subscribers. And that's out of, like, there's 2 billion accounts on YouTube. So you've done something that only a few, like a tiny fraction has done. What are the keys that you have found for anyone out there who's watching that wants to start a YouTube channel? What are, like, the most successful things you've done to grow the channel?
Just try to be consistent with content and put out content that is conscious. I mean, for our channel, I mean, if we were doing more parodies, more shuck and juck, more comedy stuff, we'd probably have more views. If I was acting really stupid, we'd have probably over a million views or subscribers already. But I try to keep a certain mind frame when I'm putting together stuff, and it's just who I am. I can't sell myself out like that. So we would have grown probably a lot faster, but, you know, we just been consistently putting out the content, you know, putting the message out there, and people recognize. So it's starting to take on it took on some momentum.
Yeah, dude, I'm sure that there are probably like hundreds, if not thousands, of lives that you guys have legitimately changed. Like people who were considering doing X and they heard you say something and they're like, you know what, maybe I'm not going to do that.
We've definitely had a lot of kids email us from all over the world. I've had people like in colleges that watch our show in college, with their teachers. People sharing our videos in correctional institutions. So we have affected a lot of people. A lot of law enforcement watch our show because I don't bash law enforcement. I just say, man, hey, it's education. It's learning to communicate, because even if this guy's a good apple, but he sees all these bad apples, where does that make him? When you don't, that's like me being involved in a clique and I see them about to do something to some old person or to somebody and harm them. If I don't stop that act, what am I? I'm a part of it. I'm a conspirator. So they're conspirators too when they sit there and watch somebody beat somebody down. That's unjustified. So I just try to create conscious awareness, and our channel is all about creating this so we can have dialogue to create a more humane environment for all of us.
So you do kind of a mix of content, which a lot of people say not to do on YouTube, but it seems to work for you. Like you said, you got the interviews, you got the cooking shows, you've got just kind of some opinion pieces from yourself. Is there one of those that tends to work more than others, or?
Well, for our channel, Fresh Out, the interviews are always great. People love to hear the stories. We do a lot of the prison talk stuff just to kind of not glorify, but to let you know what you don't know, what Hollywood doesn't tell you. So it kind of puts that message out there. And then on my other channel, which is Big Herc 916, I do positivity and motivational stuff. So I talk about relationships. I talk about dealing with anxiety, being frustrated with life, cars, just things that are outside of prison, things that, the normal person could relate to. So I try to have a variety and kind of touch on both. But it's just the draw in is, this guy's been to prison, but at the end of the day, there's life outside of that. And it's not, prison is nowhere you want to go to get a tattoo to come out like you're this tough guy. man, get a tattoo down the street, man.
I like some of
happy.
the you got a few questions a while ago from people like, should I go to prison to get tougher?
Man. It's crazy, man. Like what people think is, you know, their vision of prison is.
Yeah.
You know, I tell you, man, I you know, hindsight's 50-50, but if I could have made some different choices, and you never know even with those choices what direction I would have went in, but I wish I would have focused more on like association, my friends, the people that I hung out with in my education, and having a mentor to kind of teach me more about business and stuff like that, rather than the streets, you know, the big homies, the guys who were ex gang members or drug dealers. You know, I wish I wouldn't have went down that path. I would never want my child to go through what I went through.
It doesn't seem like you have regret, though, if that makes sense. I mean, obviously, maybe you would have done some things differently, but it doesn't seem like you're, you know, hung up on that like a lot of people are.
No, I mean, I can't be mad at the experience because of where I am today, and being able to have this show. If I wouldn't have lived that life, I wouldn't have been able to share a genuine story. You know, I've been in a lot of situations, and I never, like I said, tried to be some gangster, but I was a gangster, man. I was doing a lot of gangster stuff, but then I also have been to suburbia. I've been around the Orange County, privileged, you know, kids who never even been in a fist fight, you know. So I've seen that, and I've seen the two extremes, and being able to reflect back on that has allowed me to share my story and help a lot of people in the process.
Yeah, I think that's really like what, to me, like what's special about the channel is that you are able to like connect with such a wide variety of people, which is a rare thing, especially now when people tend to just focus, you know, on people who are exactly like them and never branch out beyond that.
Yeah, well, that's one of my things is like, you know, I got fans in Australia, Canada, you know, white guys, you know. Then I got the guy who's Asian who said, hey, man, I told my son to watch your channel. He wouldn't listen to me, and he's like, dude, it's working, you know. So I got people from all over, Philippines, China, and it's not about race, man. That's what people don't realize. It's not about this. It's not about this. It's about this. It's about comprehension. It's about consciousness. It's about understanding and sharing. You can learn from anybody. I can learn from a Chinese guy. I can learn from a Korean. I can learn from somebody who's Native American. I can learn from somebody who's German, who's you know, who's from a Russian. You know, you can learn from anybody. It's just, are you willing to listen? Mm-hmm. Everybody has something to share. It's just whether or not you're receptive.
I liked what Badger said, I think in one of your videos, maybe it was one of his, I don't know, but this isn't for people who want it, or this isn't for people who need it, this is for people who want it. You gotta want it.
Yeah, you gotta be open to, dialogue. You gotta be open to change. You know, it's all about evolving. I mean, life, you're constantly evolving. I mean, I would hope with anybody I met 10 years ago, I'm not the same person. You know, if you're the same person 10 years ago, then what have you done with your life?
You know, people are like, you changed, man. Or like, yeah, I did.
You're supposed to. I would assume, you know, you're not still doing the same stupid
Unless
stuff you're doing.
Unless I was perfect 10 years ago, which I wasn't.
You know, that's what life's all about. So it's all about evolving and evolution.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I've taken up enough of your time. I guess what's kind of next for the channel? I know you talked about potentially some TV stuff.
Well, the big jump for us is going to be taking our channel to a major network as far as a streaming platform, a cable platform where we can really speak our voice. So we're not limited as far as what we can talk about and the topics we can share with everybody. And also, you know, for myself, it's more mentoring young people, life coaching, and really getting out here and building the brand, the Fresh Out brand and the Big Herc 916 brand, you know, and helping people and changing lives, being a positive influence for people who need that mentor.
Cool. Well, there you go. You heard it. Fresh Out series on Instagram, and yours is Big Herc 916.
Big Herc, yep, Big Herc 916.
And Fresh Out series on YouTube. Yeah, you can look it up on YouTube. So cool. Well, thank you very much for doing this, and yeah, check it out.
Thank you. Appreciate it.